I don't know if you've been watching the news recently, but it seems like everywhere I turn there is protest. It kind of seems like our whole world is on fire, both globally and locally right now. There's so much going on, so many conflicting opinions and thoughts. How do we make sense of it all? Well, today as YFC, we want to start into a new series where we take a look at what does God have to say about race, ethnicity, and injustice. And we're going to begin right back at the very beginning of Scripture, back in Genesis chapter 1, which says this. So God created human beings in His own image. In the image of God, He created them. Male and female, He created them. What does God see from His perspective? Do you think that He sees a difference between whether they've got white skin or black skin or brown skin? I think He views things from the perspective that because He created everyone in His image, they have value and worth to Him. And so if we believe this principle is true, that God created everyone equally, then how is that going to impact our society and us individually? As I grew up as a white male in America, I realized that unintentionally, I benefited from my position and from where I grew up at, and the fact that minorities were oppressed around me that I didn't even notice. It wasn't an intentional choice on my part, but I need to start by admitting that and taking that to God and saying, God, here I'm confessing this to you and I want forgiveness for this. That's where I have to start and acknowledge my own heart motives. I'm not going to assume that I know where you're at or coming from, but as a society, in the years I've lived in Lebanon, I've realized that we have to take a step back, and oftentimes with others, in order for us to see the bigger picture of what's going on all around us. And so I'd encourage you to take a moment to pause and reflect and pray on that. And if you've had a chance to reflect on those things, then I would ask some further questions of you. I would ask that as a society, how do we administer justice? Do we do that in a fair way, or is it based upon your nationality or ethnicity? How do we treat others in general? Are we kind to one another? If I might give a practical example, if we see a person of color walking down the street, do we automatically assume in Lebanon that they're a household helper or a domestic worker? Where does our mind go in those moments? Because you see, that's often shows us our motivation and what's going on inside of our heart. And so, regardless of where you're at on the spectrum today, we can begin to change our world and our society here in Lebanon, but it starts with us individually and thinking back through how we treat others and how we want to be treated. And so let's take a moment and go back to God's principle and say, today I want to treat and see people as God sees them, which is equal and worthy of respect and dignity.